Thank you guys for coming. My name is Johan Burch. I am the CEO of the Tech Map, and actually I was asked to make the introduction to Startup Grind. This is an event that happens once a month here at Capital Factory, run by Kimberly. And every month she has somebody that actually she interviews. So I'm glad that you guys made it out tonight. I actually ran an event yesterday here that was great. Hopefully you guys made it. Capital Factory is a great place to be and come to see the events happening here. So definitely we appreciate you guys coming and taking the time to be here tonight. And hopefully you guys enjoy the food. So, and the beer. Just to some cleanups, if you guys don't know where the bathroom is, just where those ladies are, to the right and to the left to the gentlemen, right to the ladies. If you don't mind, put your cell phone on vibrate, that way we can make any interruptions. And let me just put the mic with Kimberly. Not really. So we also want to bring in one of the sponsors, Laura, if you want to come in with Kiss Patent.
Yes. Thanks, John and Kimberly, and thanks to you all for coming out here. Kiss Patent puts the power of patent protection in the hands of software startups. We empower you to increase your startup's valuation with a patent. With flexible pricing and an a la carte business model, you only pay for the patent services that you need. And as a special offer for Startup Grind Austin members, I invite you to go to kisspatent.com/startup-grind-austin, and you will get a $250 patent package for free. In addition, I'll be running office hours tomorrow. We work from 12 to 2 p.m. Please feel free to talk to me about patents, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. So I wanted to mention, I'm actually using her for a trademark, so that's really a great person to talk to. And a little bit about the Tech Map, if you guys don't know or haven't heard about it. We're like LinkedIn for IT companies. So if you're looking for events or anything job related to IT, or looking for a co-founder or even somebody for Java developer, you can search. It's all free, so that's the best part. You should sign up and connect with others in the Tech Map. Thank you guys.
Thanks, Johan. Okay, so thanks for being here. Let's give Josh a warm Startup Grind welcome. Okay, so welcome, Josh. We want to learn a little bit more about your background. So tell us about your family, where you grew up.
Need a battery?
All right, I had to send one last tweet about all of you. Awesome, well, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me. Where did I grow up? So I grew up in Nashua, New Hampshire, which is just outside of Boston. Anyone know where Nashua is? A bunch of people, wow. So if you live up there, you know where Nashua is. Nashua's the only cool city in New Hampshire. It's basically like right on the border, and it's about 45 minutes outside of Boston, so a lot of people live in Nashua and commute to Boston. And you live in Nashua because there's no sales tax or income tax in New Hampshire. So there's lots of taxes in Massachusetts. And so everybody lives in Nashua and then commutes down to Boston. And New Hampshire also is, the liquor stores are run by the state. So you can buy beer and wine from like a grocery store, but if you want like liquor, like hard liquor, you have to go to a state-owned liquor store. And so all the liquor stores are on the highway at the rest stops right over the border, so that the people from Massachusetts like drive over the border, pull over, fill up, buy all this alcohol, tax-free, and then turn around and drive back over. So that's Nashville.
That's exciting. So what about your family?
My family, my mom just had her knee replaced yesterday. She's here in Austin. Just made me think of that as you asked about family. So hoping she recovers quickly. But my family, obviously I grew up there. Most of my family was around me up there. I grew up in kind of a Brady Bunch family, is how I think of it. My parents were both married, had kids, got divorced, then got together and had me. So I'm like the one person that's related to everybody. And my siblings are all 8 to 10 years older than me. looking back to my family, it's one of those things I didn't really think about growing up, but they're all entrepreneurs everywhere. I don't think that necessarily being an entrepreneur is like genetic or something, but I do think there's something about being around it that makes it much more accessible and less like intimidating, makes it possible. And none of them were like big entrepreneurs. They didn't run big companies or tech companies or anything like that. They ran like retail shops and stores. My dad was a photographer, photographed weddings and bar mitzvahs and things like that. But he worked for himself and worked out of our house. Just like everybody I knew, everybody I looked around, everybody I knew worked for themselves. And so I do think that was like a really big influence on me. Over time, they've all moved down to Texas because everyone's moving to Texas. And so my parents now live up in Sun City, in Georgetown, and my sister's here in Austin, and my brother, although he travels around Asia a lot, is in Austin right now. And then I have another sister out in LA who's in the movie business, and then I'm so fortunate that my wife's family is actually awesome. And so my mother-in-law is here in Austin and is great, and especially great with our kids, which is awesome. And then she has a brother and a sister that are both here in Texas that are really great.
Awesome. How many kids do you have?
Oh yeah. And I have 3 kids. I still feel like a kid. But I have 3 kids who are 6, 5, and 4. They're all 15 months apart. They're only like that combination of all 1 year apart for about 3 months of the year, and then it starts to stagger. They're pretty much the cutest kids in the world, so I'm told. They're just at super fun ages. They're Michaela, Noah, and Sasha, so girl, boy, girl. And they're just super fun and cute and smart and great. And one of my traditions that I've been doing, it's kind of worked out perfectly with when kind of they were ready to go, and when the ACL Festival went to 2 weekends, is since it did that, I guess this is now the 3rd year, the first weekend I take each one of my kids one day, and so it's like my day with them. It's like go to the festival and see, we go hang out and walk around and see music. And right now it's great for me. Although I'm really looking forward to when, like, my oldest, who's 6, I think like next year she'll be able to go pick which shows we go see. Like go listen to them, and like a lot of things they get to pick where we get to go for that day. But it'll be like hopefully something that's a special thing for us that we've always been doing and that we always do together. And then the second weekend, my wife has to get a babysitter the whole weekend, and she has to go with me, go anywhere I want to go, and stay out as late as I want to stay out the whole weekend for the second weekend. So, and so my birthday is actually on Christmas Day, which and I'm Jewish. Although my wife's not, so our kids celebrate everything. And so growing up, it was actually really awesome because like that was especially you may guess I'm a workaholic, and so that was always like the one day of the year that I completely took off because like I had to, because like there was nothing to do. Everybody else was doing something else. Like it was like our birthday, sleep in, like totally take it off, and then, until I had kids. And then now, like, of course, it's completely consumed by them. And so part of my deal with my wife is that since I kind of lost my birthday, that like ACL weekend that's my weekend that she has to come. She has to set aside for me for that. So.
So, talking about you growing up in an entrepreneurial family, do you feel like that's what inspired your interest in entrepreneurship?
I think there's a lot of different things. Like kind of like I mentioned before, I think for me the biggest thing is that it just made it accessible. It just made it not nearly as intimidating as it seems to be to so many other people that I talk to. Whereas I talk to other people and they say, like, oh, how do you, when's the right time to quit your job? And like, how do you know? And should I get work? They're like, they have all these questions. And like, I didn't have any questions. I just started doing stuff and running. And I think that could kind of remove the inhibition. But at another level, I think I would have done it anyway. I mean, I just think it goes with a lot of other things. And I was always, not good at following instructions and good at generally organizing other people and groups of things, and was, growing up often in different types of leadership roles and things like that I think gave me good practice and again gave me confidence and made me comfortable saying I'm going to go do something on my own.
And so there were certain points, from what I understand, when you were growing up that your entrepreneurship really shined. like sales or a piano recital, things like that?
Yeah. Are you fishing or are you?
Talk more about that.
Let's see. You've obviously done your homework. I'm trying to remember which examples you're thinking of. For me, the things that stick out, I remember my first speeding ticket in high school turned into a party to get everyone else to pay for my speeding ticket, which was one of my first entrepreneurial adventures that worked really well. I had a completely failed entrepreneurial experience at the festival this weekend. I thought I was being so smart, and I whereas my oldest daughter pretty much measures the success or happiness of the day by how many snow cones that she could get. And the line for snow cones was really long, which, by the way, I'm talking about entrepreneurial, like the best business in the world has to be selling snow cones at ACL. Like, they're $5 for a cup of ice with some sugar in it. Like, I mean, they're just like printing money. Like, I can't, and the line, it's the longest line of all the lines is the snow cone line. So anyway, so of course she wants to get snow cones and have to wait in the snow cone line. So it's like 15 minutes in the snow cone line. I get to the front and I'm like thinking, I'm sort of like, all right, Caleb, let me show you a lesson in entrepreneurship. We're gonna buy 2 snow cones. And then we're gonna sell one for $10 to someone at the end of the line. And get our snow cone for free. And she's like, really? I'm like, yeah, watch, this will totally work. And then I like did it and like just offended everybody at the end of the line. And nobody bought one, and I ended up eating the other snow cones. So I thought I was being so smart, and this is gonna be so great, and totally failed.
That's a great story.
Yeah. Not what you asked for, but
No, it's okay.
okay.
So what was your thought process in your early career, and how has that developed?
My thought. Just, what do you mean by that?
Like, when you started out in your career, did you set out to go down the path you've gone down, or were you kind of just taking it a day at a time, and how has that changed?
I think I've always had a pretty good kind of North Star. Like, I kind of like directionally knew where I was headed, but then I didn't get really hung up about like all the steps between here and there. Then I just kind of focused on the next few steps. And that's worked pretty well for me. And like a lot of people ask me about Capital Factory's vision and where's Capital Factory going, and that's kind of how I'd have to explain that. Like, I mean, there's definitely like a direction that we're headed, but I don't spend a ton of time thinking about things that are going to happen a year from now, or 5 years from now, or 2 years from now, because there's so much obvious thing that things that need to happen tomorrow and the next day, and like the next steps we need to take are also obvious and seem so clear that I don't worry about that other stuff. And I think I feel very fortunate that I've had that through a lot of my experiences. I think a lot of people that I talk to who want to be entrepreneurs or do more entrepreneurial things get some analysis paralysis. You know, they like get all hung up trying to figure out the perfect thing to do. And I was much more like, well, let's just try everything, and keep trying lots of things. I like the phrase opportunity through activity, and I think I've been very fortunate to have a lot of great opportunities and be really lucky and fortunate and be in the right place at the right time. And I've also like worked my ass off to be able to take advantage of those things when they happen. And so, back to the question of how thinking has changed. I think early on, I also really believe in compounding interest, and I got that early on. Like, okay, working hard back then was gonna pay off now and later. And so I think as fast as I could, I was making 10-year investments. I was doing things that I didn't think were gonna pay off for 10 years, which for 10 years seemed really dumb. But now is, starting to feel better. So one, I think I'd always had a pretty long-term view. Two, I think one of the biggest changes is I remember I started my first company when I was 19 in college, mostly by accident. It wasn't some big idea. I wasn't really that smart or a big idea, but I started this company, and as I started hiring all my fraternity brothers. I was really smart, one of them still works here at Capital Factory, actually, not for me, but and two of them, actually. But I remember I had this expectation of I was trying to make everything be perfect, be right. And I remember constantly thinking I was trying to be 3 steps ahead of where the company was. And so if we were or 5-person company, I was trying to prepare us to be a 10-person company. If we were a 10-person company, I was trying to prepare us to be a 20-person company. When people would make mistakes, I would get mad. Like they weren't supposed to make mistakes. And now I think I feel like I have a much more mature view on that, where, first of all, I know that people make mistakes, and I don't have any expectations that people aren't going to make mistakes. And so now when somebody makes a mistake, I realize that's usually a problem with the system, not a problem with the person. I try to fix the system so that the people can't make mistakes. And I also realize that that there's a lot of efficiency in not solving problems till you have to. And so I don't try to prevent every problem from happening. It's almost like problems are like friendly reminders. It's like, oh, that problem. I remember that problem. I know how to solve that problem. Wow, we're big enough to have that problem. That's awesome. Like, great. Now we'll fix that problem. And so I don't know if the people who work for me think I'm relaxed. But if it worked for me before, they would think I'm relaxed. Now, so
They would think you're relaxed.
yeah.
So in your first startup, who were your first clients and how did you get them?
That's a great question. I've been kind of two different answers to that from different times. So with my first company was called Skyless. It's still running. It's now called PostUp, and it's here in Austin. I started it in Pittsburgh, but I moved it here and then sold it 10 years ago, and it's still right now. It was one of the first hosted email marketing companies. So today, that category, they're actually called a email service provider. ESP is like the industry name for it. But that'd be something like MailChimp or Constant Contact or ExactTarget. ExactTarget, a better fit, where that's more of kind of an enterprise software solution. And so we were doing it for really big companies, at least towards the end, like Microsoft and Sony and NASCAR. But when we started, I was, this is really the story of how my first company started. It was my sophomore year of school, and the beginning of the semester, beginning of the year, my parents would give me some kind of stipend or a certain amount of money for, actually, this was the end of my freshman year that this was happening. So the end of my freshman year, my parents would give me a certain amount of money at the beginning of the year that was supposed to last me for food and clothing and a bunch of other stuff. And of course, I probably spent it like all on clothes or something at the beginning of the semester. And I'm like, I just remember eating, all I could afford was like pasta with salt. That was like the most, it was towards the end of the semester, like all I was eating was pasta. Because it was like the cheapest thing I could get, and putting some salt on it for some flavoring. And so I needed some money. So I got this internship. This is another story to how I got the internship, but got this internship, and it's with this email software, and so I started getting paid some money, and then there's the company. There's two kinds of software companies. There's like a software company that will like more like an enterprise software company that will like customize the software for you and change it, and then there's more like consumer software, like probably what most of us are expecting to buy, like your iPhone, like if you don't like something in your iPhone, you don't expect to go to like call Apple and get them to change it, right? Like probably not, right? But like if you buy business software, you do expect that actually. Like you might expect to call up, I don't know, what are we using? Cobot. We use Cobot to run the space, and we call them up and get them to add features to it all the time. So back then, I was working with this software company that made this email software, and they didn't make changes to it, but people would call and ask for changes to it. And if you're a sales guy or girl and you're selling stuff through them, you want to close the deal. And so if somebody calls and asks if they can customize it, that's kind of like a roadblock, like that. And one day, one of the salespeople had this brilliant idea. They said, well, we don't customize the software, but we have this college kid, and I bet if you buy him some pizza, he will probably do that for you. And so I get this email, and I get some pizza, and I fix this, write this little piece of code or whatever, fix this thing. And that helped the salesperson get the deal. So then they like that. So then what do you know? Now they start sending me more people because I help close deals. And I'm getting paid this extra consulting money. And so pretty quickly I developed this little consulting business on the side, just doing hourly consulting work on top of the stuff I was doing as an intern. So that's how I just started doing any kind of business. But then the way it really became what I think was a scalable business and a hosting business as opposed to just a consulting business was back then, this was 1996. And so this was before SaaS, like software as a service. That was not a word. And really, if you wanted to like run a website or like do something on the internet, you had to have a computer that was like plugged into the internet all the time, usually with like a dial-up modem. So you had to actually have a phone line dedicated to your, this, some of you may know this, some of you may not, but you had to have a phone line that was like, so I had a computer, a phone line that no one talked on, that was only used by the computer, that was on all the time, was dialed up to someone else, or if you're really lucky, you had, there was no such thing as broadband, but like at my school, my university, we had Ethernet. And so if you wanted to have a website, you had to like have a computer, run this server on it that was really geeky to figure out how to run, and then you could make your web pages and put them on it and all this other stuff. And so, so one of the people I was doing consulting for, they would have to have their own server and run their stuff on it. And so occasionally those things, the server would crash or something would happen, and they'd call me up and I'd go remote log into the server and reboot it or fix it or do whatever and get it to go. And so one day, one of my customers that was a consulting customer for that called me up and he said, you know, Josh, you run a server and I run a server. And my server crashes and then it stops working. And that like interrupts my business and pisses off my customers. And I just wish that wouldn't happen, but I call you and it never takes you long to fix it. You just log in and you fix it. Half an hour later it's better, but it takes time for me to notice it and then call you and then you to log in, and meanwhile my server's down. I don't want my server to go down. I said, Josh, you run a server and I'm sure your server goes down too, but you're a college kid and you don't have anything to do and you're just sitting there next to it all the time. And so I never notice it going down because you always fix it right away. So how about instead of like me urgently calling you every time my server breaks and having you come fix it, I just pay you $50 a month and you run it on your server and you deal with it. Now, today, that sounds like the most obvious thing in the world because that's the way you would do anything today. But that was actually like a kind of revolutionary idea because you didn't do that. You didn't pay for someone else to run your server. You ran your own. And being an optimistic college kid, I'm thinking, well, nothing's ever going to break, so like this is perfect. This is like $50 of free beer money, and I just think it's like the greatest thing in the world. And so, and I was running this on the computer that my parents bought me. I was in my dorm room, connected to the school's network that I wasn't paying for, and which you couldn't do today, but you could totally get away with back then. And so it was free money, right? And so I get a hosting customer paying me $50 a month. So that was pretty cool. So now one of the ways I did as an intern is I answered all these questions on this online forum, kind of like you would do on social media today. And so I add a signature to my email that just says, hey, I host email lists, just add that on. And over the next few years while I was in school, picked up one customer at $50 here and $100 a month there and $200 then it was like $250 a month and $500 a month and bigger customers, and started hosting all these email lists, and that was really the beginning of that first hosting business, which evolved a lot over time from that. It was very much an accident. It wasn't like I didn't have some vision or some idea or anything like that. Just like someone offered to pay me to do something, gave me some free pizza. Someone else offered to pay me to do something else.
So you took that and then you built that into a company.
Yeah.
And how long did you have that company?
I ran it for 10 years.
And then you sold it?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so let's kind of jump from there to here. So Capital Factory, how long ago did you start Capital Factory?
So we started Capital Factory at the beginning of 2009.
Okay.
So about 6 years.
6 years. Okay.
And it's really gone through two major evolutions or phases. So we think of this is Capital Factory 2.0.
Okay.
So 1.0 was very much like what Techstars or Y Combinator are. So a 3-month boot camp, kind of intense summer program. We did that for 3 years, and then in 2012 we opened up this space, so this top floor, which is now got 2 other floors, and really just expanded the scope of what we did and turned it into something very unique that runs year round and is really a much different thing than it was then.
So how has that evolved? Can you walk us through that a little bit?
Sure. So like I said, the first thing was a 3-month boot camp, which I think is a great type of program. There's now a lot of those in many different cities. And we ran 5 companies a year. And through that, so over the 3 years, we had 15 companies that went through that program. Out of those 15 companies, that's now 5 or 6 years ago. It takes 5 to 10 years for like a company to become a big company, like a real company typically. Every once in a while it happens faster, a lot of times it happens slower, but that's, I'd say, the average. So right now we're just starting to see some of the first companies that we invested in become big companies. And so one of the very first company we invested in is called sparefoot.com. They're right across the street from us. They've got about 100 employees. They raised, I think, something like $60 million in funding. They're worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Very, very successful business. They basically own the self-storage industry online. So if you want to book a storage unit from a web page, you're probably going through them one way or another. And then we have 14 other companies. Out of those 14 other companies, probably 3 or 4 of them are still operating. Probably be worth something, but nothing on the scale of what Sparefoot will be worth. And then probably 10 are dead. So it was interesting learning lesson as we went through that. Now it turns out that totally works. That model for venture capital, for investing, completely works. So that one company that was successful, they've raised multiple rounds of funding. I think they're probably under Series E or something like that right now. In their Series C round of funding, their third round of funding, we sold about half of our stock that we had gotten from putting them through the incubator and then making some investments. And so not really that far into it. We sold half of our stock, paid off all the money we'd ever invested in any other companies, and made money. And then we still let half of it ride, which now is worth millions of dollars. And certainly multiple times of what it was when we did that before. And so what that taught us was that, one, the model actually does work, but it is kind of a numbers game. And that we realized, well, we don't want to have one spare, if we're going to do 5 companies a year, then we're going to have one Sparefoot every 3 years. We need to do 50 companies a year, so we have 3 Sparefoots every year, right? And that was one big part of the evolution, or what we changed, was moving to something that runs year-round, like we have now, where we have a monthly application cycle and companies join all the time. Our target is doing about 50 companies a year, which is what we seem to be doing, about 5 companies a month. It's really just happening at a much greater scale, which turns out to come with a lot of other benefits. We actually, I think, can help the companies a lot more because of the scale that we have, and the opportunities and the kind of like resources and other things that come with that. But the impetus of it was this realization of, oh wow, we got to flip the numbers. Like, we have to work with a lot more companies. And Austin was growing at the perfect time to be able to support that, right? We probably couldn't have done 50 companies a year when we started, but we can now.
And how do you select the companies?
There's a very special dartboard. Basically, that's probably very different than other accelerator type programs as well. I'd say, most other programs that are typically looking for say you have 10 companies in your class and you have an application process and you pick them all at once. Well, then you're kind of like, you're gonna look at 1,000 companies and you're trying to pick or hundreds of companies, and you're trying to pick the 10 best ones. And you've got a very limited scope. And I think that's an interesting model. With our model, it's more like we have a bar. Because we want to work with every good tech company in Austin. That's what we're trying to build, is something that's scalable enough and valuable enough to be able to help every tech company in Austin. And part of it's the way that we help. There's very little that's competitive about what we do. Like, if I've got 2 companies that are doing similar things, I can help them both. I don't need to know any secrets about them. I can, most of what we do is introduce them to other people and make connections for them, and I can introduce both of them, let them sort it out, and a lot of times those companies will end up finding ways to work together and do other things. But we really try to make it something very scalable. And so it's more like we have a bar, and if you meet the bar, then we want you to be part of it, because we want every good company to be part of it. And so that bar is, we want to have a great team, a great set of founders that we really believe in, and they need to have built something that's useful to somebody. And I don't want to oversimplify it by saying it, but that's how I think about it. And so it starts with the people, like most things in life. Me and other people on the team, we have to meet you and fall in love. We have to think you're awesome and you're great, you're going to be successful. And obviously that has a lot of different things. You have to know what you're talking about and be really passionate about it, and we have to believe in you, and you have to be committed, and there's a whole bunch of things that go with that. And that's probably the most important thing. And that thing can even override some other things, right, if that thing's strong enough. But that's where it starts. And then what we're looking for is, you build something useful to somebody. So it's not just an idea. And you've shown, part of what you've shown is that you're resourceful and you can execute and you can get something done. So you can build something. Now, that something's can be really different for different industries and different types of businesses. If you're building an iPhone app, you should build the iPhone app. And it should work, because it's pretty easy to build an iPhone app. And if you think it's hard, then you don't have the right team. And that's part of that, gets back to the initial problem. And so, one, if you're building something that's like selling something to hospitals, well, maybe it's not quite built yet, or maybe you're in a different stage in evolution, because that takes a much longer period of time and has other barriers to it and other things like that. But you have to show them that you can get something done, and it's for somebody. You're not just, you actually have a customer in mind. Ideally somebody that's paying, but at least somebody that's, that's a real customer. You're not just making it for yourself. So there's somewhat of a market for it out there. I'm gonna try not to get too hung up beyond that. Like, we don't look at something generally and go, we do product companies that are generally very scalable. So like, we don't do like a pure consulting business. And our focus is generally on tech, although we think of tech really broadly because tech's infiltrated just about everything. But if it was a pure, I'm making apparel or something like that, that wouldn't be a fit for us. But if you're in our general space and you meet those different pieces, then we want to work with you. We want to find all those companies and bring them in. And that's what we're looking for.
Okay, and how many applications do you get like on a monthly basis for your program?
The applications vary a lot month to month. It's very cyclical. So there are some, like January is always one of the biggest months. It's like a New Year's resolution thing, like I'm gonna go start a company. And so it goes up and down, but I'd say generally it's hundreds.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you really narrow it down to like that number.
We get hundreds of crap. No offense, but I mean, like, that's what probably most things that get hundreds of applications are like. So it's not actually that hard to narrow it down.
Okay.
Like, it's pretty quickly, it's like, and then you're like, okay, here are like, out of those, 100 or 200 or 300, it's like, okay, here are the 20 that are, kind of meet these basic criteria, and then you can kind of dig in on those. I don't mean any offense to anybody, whatever. Obviously, lots of things get submitted, but it's pretty easy to filter down.
So it can be at different levels depending on the company and what they're doing, and you'll consider that. Yeah, and most of these companies are pre-Series A. If you've raised $5 million, you're probably, chances are you're too farther along than the type of thing we're going to be working with. And most companies have raised something. Not all of them, definitely not all of them, but they've raised a little bit of money from somebody, or they put some of their own money into it. And how would somebody apply? You apply online, so that you can read about it on our website, capitalfactory.com/accelerate. And I just want to clarify to start, there's two different ways of applying. And this confuses people sometimes. So you can apply to work here, which is not kind of what we're talking about, and being part of the accelerator and getting funding and those other parts. And anybody can work here, or anybody can apply to work here. I actually personally review all those myself. And really what we're just looking for is we want people that are working on tech types of things and tech products. And so you're either building a tech company, there's obviously all kinds of roles within that, but you're part of a tech company, you're building a tech company, you're a freelancer doing tech stuff, you're somebody that I think would end up working in a tech company or one of these companies would want to hire, something like that in that ecosystem. And that's not what we're talking about. And then joining the accelerator is a much more intense application process, and you get interviewed, and there's much more to it. And so that's the process that's at capitalfactory.com/accelerate, and you actually submit it by creating an angel list profile, which is kind of like a LinkedIn profile, except for your startup, for your company. And so you create a profile on Angel List, and then you basically submit that to us. And that basically just asks all the questions we would want to ask, and what gives us kind of a starting point of what to review. And we cycles due on the first of the month, so we're every first of the month. We basically cut it off, but then you can apply for the next month. And we pretty quickly go through this cycle where we review all those, select ones to come in and interview with us. We do an interview day where companies come in and present to the directors and other mentors here. We do some one-on-one meetings with those to kind of follow up and get to know them. We decide within a week which companies are going to be accepted, and then get them through the onboarding process and started. And then we're almost immediately then starting the next application cycle. That's exciting. Okay. Well, I want to open it up to the audience for questions. If anybody have any questions for Josh?
You had mentioned like a lot of the ones are crap. So what's your main determinant to knowing that something right off the bat is just not gonna
I mean, it's like you look at it and it's like it doesn't meet the basic criteria we talked about. So either it's not in the right space, like it's not fit for what we want to do. We only work with companies that are committed to being in Austin, so they're not clear that they want to move to Austin. They don't have any kind of traction, so it's basically just an idea, and they haven't really developed the idea, or they haven't they haven't submitted a quality application, like they kind of half-assed the answers or things like that. Those would be kind of the examples. I want to be careful saying that. Lots of people put a lot of time into things they submit, and I'm not trying to brush them off. But there is a large variance in the quality, and if you have 200 applications, there's going to be 20 or 30 that immediately rise to the top above the others, and it's that they're real. I mean, like they're much further along, and the things they talk about, they have numbers, and they've got users, and they've got a lot of other things to show for it.
That's where I was thinking was idea versus the financial models and thoughts. So.
Yeah, it's more like that. It's real. It's like, okay, something's really happening.
Tips or suggestions on how to move something that might be a consulting into more of a service or a product?
It's a great question. It's hard to do. I've done a little bit of both things. Again, my first business did that, and I've done kind of contract development. Actually, in that kind of role, my team built the first version of Bizarre Voice before as they were getting started, and did that as contract work. In the end, it's usually just the transition that's hard, right? So it's like, I've got a team I need to keep paying, and so so usually it's some combination of like saving up money to give yourself the time or resources to then go work on finishing the product or getting the productized part of it done. Sometimes it transitions really nicely where you can effectively get your consulting customers to pay for you to finish the product or like productize it, get them to pay for features and things like that to be developed. But I think the trick is really just finding what's the repeatable piece in there, because often the mindset of a consultant's very different, and I've just seen a lot of people have trouble making the transition. And so, like for example, they will. It's very hard in a consultant mindset to say no, right? It's like, oh, well, there's a way to go do that. And it's like, no, like a product mindset. It's like you have to say a lot of saying no, and some things like that make it hard to transit. But I think the key is just the cash flow transition. That's the hardest part for most people.
How much time did you spend thinking about the culture you wanted at Capital Factory, and did that pivot when you went 2.0?
That's a great question about culture. I think that it's actually something, and I'm not necessarily sure this is the smart thing or the right thing, but it's something I think about a really lot implicitly and not very much explicitly. So, I mean, this is a culture. Like this whole place, right? Like it's just so ingrained in what we do and what we're trying to build. And there's, I think there's clearly a strong culture here, and it comes up in all the little things everywhere. But probably somewhere we haven't been as formal as we should be now is really on just like what are our values and our mission and our goals, and being able to articulate that really clearly and share that with the rest of our team. Part of what kind of revelation for me just over the past year was, so Capital Factory itself is a few different businesses. We have a fund in the space and a few other things that underneath are different entities. And the space, this place, 2 years ago had like 5 employees, and now we have like 30 employees. And so it suddenly went from like, it was kind of this thing on the side that I had a few people working for me doing, and that like I kind of was just kind of happening, and we were bootstrapping, and it was to like, holy crap, like I have a company with like a $2 million budget and like a bunch of people, and like and they're not all on the same page, like, and they need more leadership and more other things. At which point I hired somebody else smarter than me to go do that. But yeah, I feel like we're a little behind on that now.
Is there a Capital Factory 3.0?
Ask me next month. Yeah, that's how we talk about it right now. We we did the first thing for 3 years. It's now been 3 years we've been doing this. And so and the fund life cycle is also about that same period. So the fund that we're investing out of will operate probably through the end of next year. But as a result, we need to start raising the following fund beginning of next year. And so right now we're spending a lot of time thinking about, well, that's a natural time to evolve or continue to change things is when we go do the new fund. You can change the rules again. When you put the fund together, you kind of have to stick with the rules of the fund while you're investing out of it. So this is a natural time where we're thinking about what's that, and look, this was a big experiment. Everything we're in right now, there was no playbook. Nobody thought this was going to work except very few people. They were like, everyone thought it was pretty crazy that we were going to take this space and open it up, and especially when it was empty, everyone's looking around going like, what, really? There are going to be, people working up here? And so that was an experiment, and I think it's worked really well. I'm really happy with it. But we've learned a lot, and there's definitely things that I think will continue to change and evolve until Austin's changed and evolved. Austin's so different now than it was 3 years ago when we opened this place. There was nothing else, right? And now there's a lot of other things, right? And so we have to continue. I think I feel really good. I think we're very differentiated, and we work well with a lot of other players in this space and in the community. But at the same time, it makes us step back and make sure we're thinking hard about what's unique about what we do and what value do we add, and what are the things we're really good at that we need to focus on and grow, and what things are maybe things that we don't add as much value, or other people do just as well, that maybe we don't need to focus on as much.
Yeah.
Questions of companies that are in Austin versus moving out west?
So why Austin? I think it's kind of somewhat of a generic question, so you're going to get a generic answer. Because look, every company is different, every person's different. The right place for any one company might be lots of different places. If you're doing a tech startup, which I thought was the general angle of that question, it'd be hard to say that man, don't go out to Silicon Valley. That's a stupid idea. Come on, it's the Mecca. So obviously that's a good place to go do a startup for lots of obvious reasons. So if you're not going to do it there, then you've got some other trade-offs that you're considering. First of all, for a lot of people, geography is not a math decision. It's not like some equation they go after to balance out scales and figure out where they're going to live. It's a religious decision. They already figured it out before you ask the question. They can't explain to you why, or they can, but it's not the real reason. So it's just first of all, people just want to live certain places. So, and you know what? A lot of people want to live in Austin. I don't know what it is, but it's a fact. 165 people move here every day. Been the fastest growing city in the country for a couple of years. So lots of people want to move here. So that's a good start. Two, I'd rather be, in my personal opinion, I'd rather be in a place that's growing rapidly than a place that's maybe staying it's already at the top and staying there. And partly because there's so much opportunity, there's so much things you can be part of. When something's rapidly growing and changing, you can be part of that. You can affect that. There's opportunities that open up. You can step up and play a role in that. You can shape and influence that. And when something's kind of the establishment, it's much harder to break in. It's much harder to be part of it or influence it or change it. So I like being part of something that's growing and changing. And I feel like that's what Austin feels like. It doesn't feel like we're stuck with the way things have always been, or there's a bunch of kind of the old guard, that we have to appease. Take, even as an example, take something like Houston or Dallas or San Antonio, right, where there's a lot of oil money or other things that just they kind of control the scene. And then I guess probably the last thing I'd say that I hear purely from tech companies, and many of them that are choosing to move here or open big offices here, is that talent is the most important thing when you're doing a company. At the beginning, you think about funding first, because that's the obvious thing you need. But as soon as you get funding, you realize your biggest challenge is talent. And if you have the right talent, then funding's actually pretty easy. And so talent's the most important thing. Talent's hard everywhere. There's nowhere that talent's easy. Talent is hard in Silicon Valley. Talent's hard in Austin. Talent's hard in Boston. Talent's hard in Dubai. It can be hard for different reasons. In Silicon Valley, it's really hard because it's so competitive. In Des Moines, it's hard because there just aren't many people, you know? Austin's kind of in the middle. And so the thing about Austin is we have a great talent base. We have a lot of people. We've got great universities. We've got the largest university in the country. We've got one of the top computer science programs and the largest computer science programs. We've got a bunch of things going for us in that way. Much, I think, easier to keep and retain the talent that you have. In the Valley, if you're one of the hot startups and the names everybody recognizes, then it's pretty easy to do recruiting. If you're not one of those, if you're an Austin company just showing up in the Valley and you don't know anybody, it's gonna be pretty hard to convince people to join your company. And hard to get them to stay, because they're gonna find some other cool new thing that comes up they get all excited about. In Austin, what I find is people generally move here for quality of life reasons. That's why they're choosing to move here. And when somebody moves for quality of life, they're much less likely to just pick up and hop to make those kinds of changes, to hop to a new job just because, you know, because it catches their interest, or because it pays them $5,000 a year more, or, you know, some other kind of thing. I mean, not that they won't ever move, but a lot more stable and easier to retain talent, and that's what I hear other people saying.
Yes.
Through your experiences with everything that you've done, what, and regrets and time lost that you've spent too much time doing something, would you have wish you hadn't done? Whether that's building a certain specific skill, or I don't know, wherever you want to take that question. I know it's very general, but you know, where have you wasted time that you wish you had?
You know, I don't have a ton of regrets. It's not like, I mean, I feel pretty good. Like there's not much that immediately comes to mind. Like, oh man, I wish I didn't do that, or you know, I wish I didn't waste all my time doing that. And you know, I like to think that I learn from the stuff that I do. So most things I look back on, and I'm like, okay, I know that wasn't right, but I learned something. It seemed like the right thing to do, or I wouldn't change it. I'd say, you know, the biggest thing is just letting myself. I'd say spend less time letting yourself get worked up about personal people problems, and I think I've been fortunate not to have too much drama, but I just think the things I think of is just like it's drama. Like I think of things as like drama and stress. I choose to have stress. I don't want to have any drama. So stress is like the good thing. Stress is means you're working on something important that matters and you care about. And drama is like bullshit. And so I try to avoid bullshit, and the things that I think of that are just things where it was people arguing about stupid stuff that didn't matter, or letting too much personal stuff get in the way, or letting work get in the way of some of my friendships with fraternity brothers or other people that I hired, or things like that.
Yes.
So you have started your companies organically instead of grown organically. How important is the business plan for startup that's 3 months old, have 3 customers?
So the question was, how important is a business plan, or at the beginning in particular? I think what a business plan is has kind of changed over the past 10 to 20 years, and depends what you're trying to do. So if you're opening an established business that's got a pretty well established business model, and you're gonna take out a loan from a bank, and you're gonna do things like that, then a lot of times a traditional business plan might make a lot of sense and be helpful. Most of the companies that I talk to are working on things that no one's ever done before, where there's not enough information to predict what's going to happen, and where making a traditional business plan is just a big waste of time. And they're just, so they're really just it's just spreadsheet jockeying. They're just playing with a spreadsheet, and all the numbers are wrong. So, and all the numbers are bullshit. So it doesn't mean much. And so I think, for most of the companies I see, that's not that valuable, a traditional business plan. And it's more of a testing plan of how do they, validate the things that they're working on, and kind of identify the market need within what they're trying to do. I don't know if that answered your question or not.
So, follow up to that, you said in your conversation that you're talking about mission statement and competitive analysis right now. It's part of the business plan, but so that's not part of it. Like, you don't want an old school business plan. What do you take out of it to actually have it in your tool chest so that you can use it?
Yeah, but I mean, well, and even that example, the competitive analysis I would have done when I wrote the business plan 3 years ago wouldn't have been relevant. Like, that's totally different now. So it's not that I missed it. It's just, it just wasn't there. So, I mean, I think, to me, again, for different types of businesses, but for most of the businesses I'm dealing with, what they want is, the business plan is what we call a lean canvas, which is a tool at leancanvas.com, which basically is kind of like a one-page business plan. It helps you really clearly identify what problem you're solving and who the customers are and what your competition looks like and who's going to pay, and like really kind of helps you map it out. Gives you a framework, gives you something to talk about.
Sure.
But it's a much more condensed version because it's going to change a lot. Because you're going to write that down, work on it for a week, and then scratch a bunch of stuff out and change part of it, and then and keep iterating on it.
Thank you.
Yes.
So, do you have any plans to bring any other technology agencies or providers into Capital Factory so that your startups that you're grooming can partner with them?
Whichever one you're doing. I mean, we work with lots of partners, yeah. I mean, and we have obviously big ones like Google and Dell and Lassie and others that are big companies, and then we have lots of different partners and providers that we work with, and people that we have worked with that we want to, if one of our companies needs a lawyer or needs some help with PR or something else, like we want to go hook them up with somebody that we know, that we've worked with before, that we trust. And so we have lots of those relationships that we're doing. So yeah, we that's an inherent part of what we do.
Yes.
Are you pointing at me?
Yeah, go ahead.
So in between the time that you started a company with your frat brothers and became wonderful and amazing, how did you deal with...
I was wonderful and amazing before.
Wonderful and amazing. How did you deal with like human resources, HR, or development, reporting, compliance issues in the interim?
We didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, when people, one of the common questions was like, "What's the biggest mistake you made?" Or and for me, one of the things that sticks out the most was when we switched from I had everybody as a contractor to begin with, to keep that really simple, much longer than I should have. And then when we switched from contractor to having them as employees, we only half made the switch. So we officially made the switch, but then just didn't actually pay any of our taxes, or set up any of the process in place to do that, or take that money out of payroll. And then I remember suddenly getting a very official certified letter from the IRS. And suddenly being, having this $100,000 tax bill and thinking it was over and we're done. And that was, an example of that not working. I remember when we hired our first woman, because it was all my friend brothers, and we had to make some rules about what you're allowed to print on the printer, some other things. But it really was probably about 15, 20 people, about that size, that we started to, again, get serious about payroll and having somebody doing, benefits and other things like that. I'd say that's a lot easier now today than it was then, because there's now benefits as a service, right? There's benefits and Trinet and all these other things that can make it a lot easier that weren't there before.
Would you have done that in the past?
Well, I mean, again, now it's much easier. So now I know ways to easily go do those things. But if it was still like it was back then, it wasn't that big of a deal. It kind of gets back to when you're a startup, you're getting going, and it's not really helpful to tell me what's broken, because everything's broken. It's a startup. Everything's broken. There's a million things you should be doing that you're not supposed to be doing. So the hard part is figuring out what do you actually go do, right? And that's kind of one of those things. I don't know. Nothing really bad happened. It could. I don't know. I'm not giving any legal advice, but you gotta. Most entrepreneurs I know are really scrappy, and most of them don't do all the stuff they're supposed to do at the beginning because they're just focused on trying to get the damn thing to work and someone to pay for it. And then they get to go worry about all these other high class problems, you know, like.
Yeah, it's really overwhelming, right, in the beginning.
Yeah.
Trying to build something and focus on everything else, so.
Even with mentoring here, one of the things often I'm talking to either entrepreneurs about going to a mentoring session or talking to mentors about being mentored. It's like, it's not like telling them what to do, it's telling them what not to do. It's like, that's like the most helpful thing. Like, there's a million things like, tell me what I should do. Like, yeah, you should do this, you should do that, you should do that. It's like, tell me what not to do. Like, don't worry about that. Just ignore that. It's like not something you need to worry about right now. Think about this other, that's really helpful advice.
So I'm glad you started talking about mentors. Who was someone that mentored you that you found was probably the biggest influence on you as you started? And then two, I also had a question about what the Capital Factory's relationship with Bunker is.
I was so fortunate to have really great mentors in my career. There were no such formal mentoring structures like we have now. Or like angel investor groups or networks or like that. Just these things didn't really exist or I didn't know about them. But I just was very fortunate to connect with really great people. Both, in college, I had a great professor who was a retired business person. He was a business professor and kind of took me under his wing a bit. Probably the first mentor that really sticks out for me was when I came here to Austin in 1999. I had my company already, but 1999, for those of you who know the song about partying like it's 1999, 1999 was like a peak of the dot-com boom. Crazy time. And there was a company here in Austin called Trilogy Software, which is still here, but not really the same company that it was. And I came and I spent a year at Trilogy. And in that year, we launched the company in 3 months, and then took it to market, closed a couple multi-million-dollar deals, and then sold it for $20 million a year later. And then the company that bought it, it was like 2000, which is like the crash. So then like the company that bought it was out of business 6 months later. So it was a great little ride, great little story. But in that process, I had a really great mentor. I joined Trilogy, having just graduated with a computer science degree. And Trilogy was the unique kind of place where you could get hired as a programmer with a computer science degree, show up on the first day and say, I think I'm going to do sales instead. And that's what I did, because I was totally wrong, because I was not a very good programmer, but I showed up thinking I was like, had a computer science degree from this hot shit computer science school. And so what do I need to do to learn about computer science stuff? I'm going to go learn about the business stuff. But that turned out to be a really good move for me because I was like the most technical business person there, which made me really effective at business development. And I had basically the startup that we launched. The CEO of that company was a guy named Ravi Guru Raj. He's back in India right now, and he basically everyone else on the team was a programmer, was technical, and then it was like he was my boss and I was the biz dev guy going out and trying to like close deals and make business happen. And so I worked really, really closely with him and got to sit in with him on negotiating a lot of deals and doing sales calls and things like that. And he'll always stick out to me as I think one of my first, really most incredible mentors who I just learned so much from. And so much of it was from just doing it with him. Like it wasn't like a book, or it wasn't like somebody told me. It was like actually just going out and doing the calls with him and sitting in the meetings with him and negotiating stuff with him and things like that. And then since then, I've just had so many great mentors. Today, I'm very, very fortunate. I think Bob Metcalf is a very, very close friend and mentor of mine, and one of the first people I turn to when I don't know. Usually I know, and then he just tells me that the thing I knew was right. But he's one of the people that will slap me around and tell me that thing was right. And then Joe Lemont, who's the founder of Trilogy, another person I go to for that kind of thing. Tom Meredith, and then also peers of mine, Brett Hurd or Jason Cohen, or a lot of other people that are that orbit around here that I'm just so lucky to have to go to. And so really that was kind of it. It's like, the start of Capital Factory was that I had this mentor network of people that I would go to for stuff. And that was really the beginning or the basis of creating the mentor network here. And then as far as the bunker, we like the bunker. We love the bunker. Bunker's an accelerator designed to help encourage veteran entrepreneurship. We love the idea of more veteran entrepreneurs here. Again, the accelerator word gets used pretty broadly, and so the types of things that I think Bunker does, very, very different from the types of things that we do, very complementary. So love to see that they're here in Austin, and hope we see more veteran entrepreneurs working here at Capital Factory.
Great, okay, so we have time for like one more question. Anybody else have a question for Josh? Yes.
In the transition from a small company, maybe a 5-digit or 6-digit kind of a company, to the example you cited at the beginning of somebody in the 50 million to 100 million and up kind of a company, somewhere in there, I've seen that intellectual property and protection of ideas becomes an issue. And then a strategy around that becomes necessary, where early on, maybe it's one of those things you don't do, you allow to kind of be on the back burner. And I wonder if you have any experience with that kind of transition and what kind of advice you give about that issue.
I think that's another thing where there's different types of businesses. And there's some businesses where that can be very, very important, and there's some where it tends to be less important. And I think the types of businesses that I've tended to focus on have been ones where it's been less important. Generally because they're software type businesses that don't involve a lot of research and development. And so the time to market's very short, and the businesses, the technologies themselves are obsolete within 5 years. And so I find that the patent cycle is too slow. By the time you get the patent, the thing's irrelevant. For most of the businesses that I'm dealing with. I've seen plenty of others where that's not the case, and particularly ones where obviously a lot of research and development goes into developing the intellectual property and what they're trying to do, and that needs to be protected, or where they've got other different types of competitive pressures, and where I've seen it be helpful. I've certainly seen it be helpful in M&A discussions where companies have placed value on it and other things like that. But I haven't had any cases where, and I've seen companies screw it up. I've seen them violate other intellectual property unintentionally, and have problems because of that, or use certain types of open source software or other things that then suddenly become an issue when they're looking at an acquisition. So I have seen that come up, but in general, with the companies that I've been involved in, of which a small number of them have made it to be that big that you're talking about, it hasn't been a huge issue.
Well, thank you, Josh, for being here with us tonight. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for all the great questions.
And thank you, everybody, for coming. I heard there's some t-shirts in the table in the back to the right. And then this is a Startup Grind event. We meet here at Capital Factory in this room on the first Tuesday of every month, and we have a fireside chat series, very much like what you saw tonight with Josh, where we feature a local entrepreneur. So thank you.